Recently, the Canadian Supreme Court ruled that patients with severe medical problems had the right to ask their doctors to help end their lives. Physician-assisted suicide will soon be legal, barring any legislation that goes in the other direction. As controversial as this decision may be, it is absolutely the right one. It's just the compassionate thing to do. I mean, if you're an adult and you're mentally competent and there really is no hope of you getting any better, then prolonging your life just means prolonging your suffering. You should have the right to ask your doctor to help you make that one final decision. At that point, even if everyone else's hearts are in the right place, it's almost cruel to keep you alive when you really don't want to be. More importantly, it allows these patients to end their lives on their own terms. They get to set an expiration date. They get to achieve closure. They get to say goodbye to their loved ones. We're so used to hearing about suicides coming as a shock to family and friends because the person who did it had their whole life in front of them. But that's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about people whose lives are effectively over in nearly every aspect. These patients choosing to die may evoke some emotional responses from their loved ones, but I think it would be much more awful to watch your loved ones suffer than to watch them go peacefully. You would think that the people who always argue for the sanctity of life would get on board with this. If life is so precious, and I believe it is, then giving someone the choice about how to end it should be worth fighting for. By the way, most religious groups are against euthanasia. Most Christian denominations say you shouldn't be allowed to end your life because it's a gift from God and only God should get to decide that. Which is kind of cruel to call it a gift of life when, every breath means that much more suffering. Thanks, Jesus. They're so set on obeying their interpretation of God's word that they ignore the suffering that's going on right in front of them. Remember, these aren't decisions anyone is making on a whim. These patients know what their options are. They know there's no hope of getting better. You have to be a monster at that point to force them to live a life that's just not worth living in their opinion anymore. You have to be a monster to force someone to exist in a living hell like that. So good for those Canadian justices for finally recognizing that. My name is Hemant Mehta and I write at friendlyatheist.com. What do you want to see a video about? Let us know in the comments below and we'll be sure to check it out.